and punish them.
Terry, I know you want to go back to your reporting. Is there anything else you want to add at the moment?
Well, Peter, it's just that this whole complex, which is usually abuzz with activity, which is really an office for hundreds of people, is now silent for the most part, and an armed camp. And that is a very striking thing for all of us who go to work there every day.
And what I notice is you're to the south of the South Lawn. You're on the southern side of the White House. We very often see you broadcasting from the other side of the White House. Why are you way down where you are?
Well, we've been cleared out of the North Lawn, which is where we normally broadcast from, and we are now, as you can see, south of the south ellipse of the White House. I can tell you that the evacuation of the White House itself, which has happened before with bomb threats and suspicious cars and packages, today did not proceed as orderly as it had. Told by one of the White House staffers that their security official came in and said everybody should leave in an orderly fashion, and about a minute later an agent ran in and said, just run, get out.
Okay, thanks very much, Terry. We'll come back to you, but you get some sense from Terry Moran standing there, locked dramatically out of the area with which he is so familiar. We saw some pictures earlier today. I'm here we get them up again for people who have just joined us, of people leaving the White House early on. First, the White House police walking out fairly casually, and then as the tension began to build and the awareness of what was going on began to be heightened, people began to run outside of the White House. This is a place supposed to be, quite extraordinarily secure. And he was, I think, more than anything else, this concern that somehow the enemy, however one defines the enemy today, had control of airspace, and that they were able to approach these otherwise secure locations from the air, therefore making them more vulnerable. But the United States has not faced any emergency like this in the modern era. And as our political director, who's also working as hard as his unit can at the moment on this, points out, information is scarce because in situations like this, reporters like us rely on government officials to tell us what is going on with government and what sort of job government is doing. And the national government is pretty close to being on what amounts to a national war footing at the moment, and it's very difficult to reach government officials. So I see Pierre Thomas, who's just come to join us, and we'll talk to him in just a moment, that is trying desperately to reach all of his contacts in the FBI, and my guess is he's having a very hard time. At any rate, Linda Douglas is in Washington with us tonight, and she is with Joe Biden, the Democratic chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, who will undoubtedly have something to say. Yes, Linda.
Thank you very much, Peter. It's been very difficult to get to you today because all the communications around the Capitol have really been shut down. As you know, earlier today, the entire Capitol was evacuated, the members of Congress, the staffs. There were some very frightening moments where they were shouting at us to get down. They thought something was going to happen. The leaders of the Senate were taken away early this morning to an undisclosed location by security, and security has also told other leaders of Congress to leave the area. The minority leader of the House, Richard Gephardt, was taken away in a Secret Service vehicle. And as you say, with me here is Senator Biden, who is the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee and has just been meeting with other members of Congress and getting security briefings from the police mostly. But Senator Biden, what about this fear that has been communicated to the members of Congress by the security people that they should stay away right now from the center of the Capitol?
Well, I think maybe initially that made sense, Linda, but I don't think it makes sense now. The air is secure now with military planes. I think we should get back as quick as we can, Peter, into session. Now, I don't want to second-guess the security people. They want to be able to sweep the area, make sure everything's squared away. But I think we should be meeting tomorrow morning. Let the American people understand that these thugs who have done this incredible thing to the United States have not in any fundamental way altered our ability to do business. And so I think it's very important we get back to business. I've communicated that to the Majority Leader, Tom Daschle, who I think shares my view on that. And when I spoke to Senator Daschle, by the way, he was home. He was here in town. There's a number of members of Congress. Congressman Brady from Philadelphia and a number of my colleagues are literally downstairs waiting for me now. So I think we have to show that we're up, we're ready to move. We are, in fact, nothing has fundamentally altered this government. And the tragedy that occurred to these thousands of people is one that we must, in fact, follow through and find out who's responsible for. But in the meantime, we should be calm and cool and collected about going about our business as a nation. Terrorism wins when, in fact, they alter our civil liberties or shut down our institutions. We have to demonstrate neither of those things have happened.
Senator Biden, a couple of the senators I've spoken to and members of Congress as well are saying that we are now at war. Senator Shelby, who is the ranking Republican on the Intelligence Committee, says we are now essentially at war. We have to be on a war footing. Senator Hagel has said that we've got to start securing our borders, locking down our airports, revisiting the way we protect our public institutions. What about that?
I hope that's not true. I would say it another way. I would say we've come face to face with a new reality. A reality that we knew existed and we knew was possible. A reality that has happened in varying degrees in other countries. But if, in fact, in order to respond to that reality, we have to alter our civil liberties, change the way we function, then we have truly lost the war. The war is one that allows us the way to conduct the war is to demonstrate our institutions are functioning, that your civil liberties, your civil rights, your ability to be free and walk and move around, in fact, are not fundamentally altered. Anybody who's willing to strap dynamite to their body or have a suicide kamikaze mission, you'll never fundamentally be able to stop. It doesn't matter what you do. There are a lot of things we can do, though, to diminish significantly the possibility of this happening again without changing our character as a nation.
Well, it's an amazing scene here, Peter. The skies are clear. There are usually planes in the sky. The skies are clear over the Capitol. The streets are completely empty. There is still smoke rising up from the Pentagon where the plane hit the Pentagon earlier. And as you can see, the members of Congress are all trying to grapple with what to do next. Senator Biden, of course, is going to be receiving all kinds of security briefings.
Linda, I have a question, if I may.
Yes, Peter. Go ahead.
I have a question for the Senator. I apologize via you. The Senator is the chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, so he is party to all of the information in the intelligence community. Was the intelligence community so taken up with the idea of chemical and biological warfare against the United States that they didn't pay enough attention to this possibility?
Well, they clearly understood this was a possibility. The problem has been we have been focusing, in my view, I don't want to second guess anybody here. Look, the prospect of a chemical, biological, pathogen probability is real. Some of us, literally as recently as yesterday, I spoke to the National Press Club and talked about the fact that it's just as easy to fly from National Airport into the White House as it is to, do the same thing in New York. I mean, look, we know all these possibilities exist. And one of the things we have to do is we have to get our priorities straight in terms of what the real threats are that face us and use the assets we have to begin to deal with those threats. What I don't want everybody to think is this is some worldwide conspiracy where there's tens of thousands of people who are part of this army that attacked us. This is a group of people who are very well organized, obviously are relatively well funded, and we have to figure out how their network has worked, but we have to penetrate it. But we can't, Peter, just say we're going to focus only on this kind of incident and not on chemical and not on biological and not on pathogens, not on anthrax. This, in a sense, is the most god-awful wake-up call we've ever had.
Senator, let me ask you
how we have to redirect our resources.
Let me ask you one more question, then. I didn't realize you could hear me. At the Pentagon and the State Department, you already hear people doing what they almost always do in an instance like this. This is so sophisticated, it must be Osama bin Laden. Maybe so, but is the United States too focused on one man?
The tendency in these circumstances is to be too focused on one man, one idea, one prospect. I think that we should be calm. Those of us who hold high public office, just calm down a little bit, collect our thoughts, collect the information, and in a methodical way analyze what we know happened and what we can derive from that. I think it's much too early for us to make those kinds of judgments. The first thing is what the president is doing. He called for calm. He's getting in the airplane. He's coming back to Washington, D.C., and I applaud him for that. And we should be back up and running as quickly as we can. And I think we should do this. This cannot be dealt with overnight. It's an incredible tragedy. But it's the new threat of the 21st century that we are now facing. And we're going to find a way to deal with it. This nation is too big, too strong, too united, too much a power in terms of our cohesion and our values to let this break us apart. And it won't happen. It won't happen.
Many thanks, Senator. And Linda, do you want to add something? Linda Douglas?
Well, I just want to say that this is the beginning of what will clearly be an enormous, profound debate here in the Capitol. The dynamics of the debate in this country, as I've discovered in talking to members of Congress, have been fundamentally altered now. And here you're hearing a discussion of whether we should lock down, open up, and how we tackle this, and what our priorities are, and how we protect ourselves. So I've had just astonishing conversations with members of Congress, Peter, and there's a very grave feeling here right now in the Capitol.
Linda, thank you very much, and thank you, Senator Biden, as well. We'll have Linda Douglas available to us all the time, thank goodness, and Senator Biden says one of the most profound things about all this, which we've said several times this morning, which the terrorist wins when he or she manages to alter the behavior of a people, or infringes on the way of life in a country, that the country, a democratic country particularly, alters its way of life, because that's a step up for the terrorist in question, because it raises the whole question of civil liberties and access and freedom of movement. And Pierre Thomas has just come back to join us. You've had this tremendous argument from covers the
state level and at the federal level. And we ask all citizens of the city of Los Angeles to please be aware and please be sensitive to our heightened security measures. There's going to be places in the downtown area and other places in Los Angeles where you will see increased police presence. There will be parts of the city of Los Angeles where people may be asked for identification or asked if you live or work in a particular area, and we're asking for everybody's cooperation. We will continue to monitor activities throughout the course of the day, progress in the city of Los Angeles, and activities throughout the country. As I mentioned before, we'll revisit the reopening of City Hall later on in the day and other facilities throughout the city of Los Angeles on a periodic basis, and we will do our best to keep you informed. At this point in time, I'd like to call forward for a brief statement the Chief of Police of the city of Los Angeles, Chief Bernard Parks.
Good morning. Again, I'd like to extend our condolences to the families of many of these tragedies, and we certainly do not know at this point just to the extent of them. But based on that information, the Los Angeles Police Department and the Fire Department has been working hand in hand since 5:30 this morning to assess what is going on in other parts of this country, to take precautionary moves in this city to ensure the safety of the entire public. We have completely reviewed all of our major facilities. We've looked at all of our police station standing plans, the security plans. We have put extra officers in the field. We've held over our morning watch. We've done all the things that we think are necessary to assess these issues. We've been in touch with the LA County Sheriff's Department, the local FBI, and all of our law enforcement brothers and sisters to talk about these issues and see what information they may have that would make us better prepared. We want to assure the public that the City of LA is prepared to address this. It's all precautionary, but we cannot be more concerned and cautious after we see the vivid images on the television screen. So we just wanted to make that assurances. We'll be working throughout the day with all the law enforcement partners in this community to ensure that information is passed on readily, that we are aware of all the circumstances and assessment of intelligence information, and so that we can bring about the safest environment in the city of LA. There's one number I'd like to give and encourage you to put this out to the public. It's 888-356-4661. This is a universal number that call in that will give periodic updates on any information dealing with emergency concerns in the city of Los Angeles. We'd like to have that number out as far and wide as we possibly can. Again, it's 888-356-4661. We certainly encourage you to put that out. But we certainly want to, again, reassure the public that all is safe in the city of LA. We certainly have no guarantees, but we're certainly looking at all of the precautionary measures to ensure that the community is as safe as possible. Thank you.
Chief, have you got any intelligence information that would indicate why West Coast flights were targeted?
We're going to answer your questions after Chief
We have a couple more speakers, and then we'll answer just a few questions. Before I call up the fire chief, I wanted to make a couple more comments. One is, as you all know, our airport, LAX, has been closed to incoming and outgoing flights and will continue to be so, I believe, until further notice. Domestic flights have been rerouted to other locations that will not be disclosed for security reasons, and international flights have been rerouted to Canada.